Um, all right, this is a bit different. don't really do this on Lucid Network or anything like that, but all right, let's just jump straight into it. So, thanks to Hans, first of all. He was able to get us just some general admission tickets for the Grand Prix for all 4 days. I couldn't make it on the Thursday due to work, but I was able to get Friday off at short notice. So again, yeah, thanks for the tickets, Hans, through someone he knew at work. Um, Obviously, I've been to the Grand Prix before. Formula One fan since I was a kid, since I was 10 years old back in 1999. For those that don't know, and I did see part of the 1998 Australian Grand Prix, but my first full Grand Prix was the 99 Australian Grand Prix, the chaotic one where Eddie Irvine would win, the McLarens would blow up, and Schumacher would repeat what he did at Suzuka and stall on the grid and fight his way through the field, and his car didn't work. Changed the steering wheel, broke his front wing, and finished eighth outside the points. Pretty sure he was last as well in that one, but last of the finishes or one of the last few. And then missed a few races because obviously I was 10 years old and going to school. But on the old TV that was in the bed at the in the bedroom at the time, old analog TV, I remember cycling through when I couldn't sleep one night, and Monaco Grand Prix was on. So that started the craze. Went through and watched every 99 race now, and brings back fond memories. But anyway, back to I guess this weekend, and in particular today. Um, well, we'll start with the weekend. Obviously, mixed weather conditions throughout. It was literally a typical Melbourne week, let alone just a race weekend, where it was high teens, low 20s, but you had four seasons pretty much every day. Like today, race day, where it was partly cloudy early in the day, and then it was sunny. The odd cloud here or there about, but yeah, it was sunny all day down there at the track. As you can see, I'm a little bit more redder than normal. Um, so yeah, a little bit sunburnt, windburnt, but that's my own fault. But yeah, so I don't think we could truly gauge much of the car's performances, but obviously Max Verstappen, Red Bull, still a level above. Because around Albert Park now, since they've made the change, it's not really, if you think about it, for a Formula One car, there's not really too much of a challenge. They've opened up the first chicane, they've opened up turn three. Um, Turn four's not really much of a corner. Turn five's flat. Turn six now, they've modified it and made it faster. And then, of course, they've gotten rid of the old, I think it's 8 and 9 or 9 and 10 down where the back straight is now. So it's just a whole massive run. So you've taken out all these complexes where you have these short, medium corners, or slower corners in the case of turn three, and just made them faster. So now they're sort of medium to high downforce. You do have to guess compromise a bit because you've got so much. I think they were saying 80% full throttle running. So you get some overtaking there now, but like in terms of car performance, the difference between say a faster car and a slower car probably isn't as much as what it used to be around this circuit. Um, but yeah, so I'll just cut straight to it. I'm gonna skip really the rest of the weekend and qualifying and all that stuff because again I don't really remember much. I was trackside, so and because it was general admission, we were walking around and there really wasn't much to really see and gather. Because I didn't have a TV screen in front of me for qualifying to really take note of what was going on because there was 150,000 or 120,000 people there. Everyone was on their phones as well, so I couldn't exactly bring up KO and check live timing. So that was frustrating, but that is what it's to be expected. You're never going to get good internet performance like that. But on to today. Now, I will throw a caveat out there that again, trackside general admission could only just hear the trackside announcers to sort of know what was going on. I don't know all the details and everything. I've got on my other screen just in front of me, sort of the race results and all that stuff. I do sort of have that, but the whole reason for this video, and this I guess review, is mainly down to what happened towards the end of the race. Now, obviously, the first red flag, I could sort of understand what happened once I saw it. Tire belt or whatever comes loose, or wall comes loose, and you got to repair it. That's fine. You know, frustrating. Being trackside or even watching on TV, it would be. You know, you have to wait for them to repair the track for half hour and get going again. For just a simple accident like these things in this day and age, they've got to find a way to sort because it's happening more and more. And then we get the race going again. Verstappen gets himself in the lead, and then it's just game over from there. He was really never headed after that. Obviously, retirements here and there, but we'll skip all the rest of it because essentially this race is all down to what happened at that second last red flag. Well, the restart after, I should say. I don't know what that red flag was for. All I heard was there was a Haas that lost a wheel or whatever, and there needed to be a red flag. So I'll have to check that. But to me, if that hasn't ripped a part of the track away, and or damaged the circuit or ripped a wall away or tire wall or whatever, I don't know what the FIA is doing in this case, in the race steward. So again, if there's anyone in live chat or watches this back later, or even if I do watch it back later, I'm just doing this take straight off from coming back from the racetrack. And I haven't seen it on a big screen. So if it's just the case where he's tried to get it back and just parked it on the circuit, and it's caused a red flag, then whoever's the race director seriously needs to reconsider what they do for a living, because I know the FIA still has massive scars and is embarrassed with how 2021 played out, but they have to get over it, because in the end, the decision to have at least the leaders, in that case, battle it out and finish the race with at least one green flag lap was the way to go. It was the best decision. And went back to whatever we did at Monza, was last year, whatever, where again, we're red flagging races at the end of races and then not getting them going again. For things that can be repaired. And, you end up with a few laps to go. If you're going to restart it, you've got to bear the consequences that you've bunched the field up, and now drivers that weren't in a good position can whack some tyres on and have a crack. And if they can move up a couple positions off that start, they're going to go for it on that first lap, because they're not going to have the pace to, say, hold their position or gain it after that first, couple corners, really. And we saw it today, where there was a bit of desperation was thrown in from some drivers on that second restart, and or third restart, I should say, after the second red flag, and some dumb driving too. But you've got all the cars, bunched up together, so it's just gonna make it worse. And then you're just left with egg on your face, because you've got 4 wrecked cars or 3 wrecked cars off in the gravel trap everywhere, and you have to restart the race again because, well, you've already set a terrible precedent of calling reds earlier. And then you have the whole farce of, will we restart the race after that for the next however long it was, half hour, whatever. And then you do restart the race. Initially, we were told trackside that it was going to restart and we're going to get one green lap. Whether that was the case or not, but from the trackside audio commentators that we had, they were initially told us that it was going to go. We're going to get a safety car restart, and it was going to go green, and we're going to get one green lap, and that, of course, didn't happen. They flat out, they just went and just restarted the race and finished it behind the safety car. Now, Formula One needs to reevaluate their whole procedure. It needs to stop. It's frustrating, especially because now they've got a whole lot, and I mean a whole lot of new fans from Drive to Survive and through, other, social media means and all that stuff now. So you've got a much different fan base, but you still have people that have been watching Formula One and watching motor racing for a long time that are very frustrated with how a lot of the general running, not so much the action on track, because one season you're going to get good racing and a hard fought championship battle, and there's going to be other seasons where it's not. So we've seen it. It happens. We just want to have cars that make sense, that aren't breaking the banks for teams or make it impossible to overtake and all that stuff. The next step is for the governing body to not shoot themselves in both feet and then fall down a flight of stairs. And unfortunately, for both, funnily enough, supercars with their new car regulations have done that. But in particular, Formula One, for the best part of, well, since I can remember, but definitely since 2007, 2008, with what their wet weather regulations were, and how often they'd throw safety cars and red flags since then, and then obviously Suzuka 2014, and now we've had Abu Dhabi, Monza, and now we're here at Albert Park, where things like this it should never happen. It was complete and utter amateur hour. I could see sort of what the thinking was, trying to get the race underway and all that stuff, and resetting the grid. Maybe they're just doing it for a bit of action, having everyone compact up again and stuff. But it was a poor decision. I don't know. I was unhappy at the time, and I've had a couple hours to think of it since, and it's only really reinforced my thoughts. I was quite animated at the time. Hans could be a testament to that. I don't know what they were thinking, and the way that ended, I have seen that Haas have gone and protested the results of the race, and they should. I think if I know in the end, Alonso did get the podium because they reinstated the grid positions after on that for that final restart. If I'm Alpine, I am absolutely livid. I know obviously Esteban Ocon's a moron and has driven into his teammate for the 20 millionth time in his career, and people still somehow rate him. I don't know how. All he does is run into his teammates and thinks he's done no wrong and his shit don't stink. But still, despite all that, they were in a good position with they're going to get points with both their cars, I believe, and they had one of them. I couldn't tell on track who was the higher up at the time before the red flag, but they were going to get decent points today, and instead they've now had to been forced to pick up a double DNF. And I'm not an Alpine fan by any stretch, but that's and it's all subjective, things being fair and not fair. But I am absolutely frustrated for Alpine that they have to suffer from double DNF when that whole restart fiasco just should not have happened. It's an absolute disgrace. An absolute disgrace. And I'll be surprised if Haas aren't the only ones that protest the end of the result of the race, because that restart shouldn't have happened. Carlos Sainz, yeah, he deserved to get the penalty for bumping Alonso around. That was just mindless. But that's just Carlos Sainz things. I'm a Ferrari fan at heart, but Jesus Christ, he can't. Well, he can't get out of his own way. Carlos. But yeah, the FIA. Yeah, I don't know who's in charge. I know you have rolling directors and stewards and all that stuff. It needs to stop. You need to find someone competent, someone with a bit of fucking balls, and someone that's going to write a set of regulations and procedures that's going to make sense, particularly with this stuff. We should not be seeing a red flag with under 10 laps to go and the race get restarted. A hard limit should be 11 or 10 laps to go, or a certain percentage, and that's it. If it gets beyond that point, if the race can be restarted through safety car means, at the end, you call a fucking safety car, and then you get 1 or 2 laps or 3 laps maybe of running at the end. You do not red flag it, because it's easier to do rolling restarts than it is, to do standing starts. Standing starts also more chaotic than what a rolling start is. People say safety cars breed safety cars, and then you then put them on the grid, compact them up, and have them flying towards turn 1, where there is the highest risk of an accident in a motor race. And then even then on the first lap. And then not only that, it's compressed down. So you've got less than 10 laps to go, and you're in an opportunity to pick up a heap of points if you can just get ahead on that first lap. What do you think people can do? They're going to be more desperate. Because before they didn't have a chance for a result, now they have a chance. And because there's less than 10 laps to go, you've got a fighting chance of holding on if you're a slower car. Now that does sound nice in theory, but we all know, anyone that's been around motor racing or sim racing knows what's going to happen if you put 10 15 desperate drivers on the grid with only 5 laps of racing to go. It's brain dead. So yeah, your rolling race directors, piss them all off. They're all fucking sacked. Get rid of them. Have one. Stewards, I don't want to see, we'll have these guest stewards come in and no. Fuck them all off. Have 3. Or whatever your team is, you keep it the whole way so there's consistency with penalties. Because I'm sick of that as well. But in particular, the whole procedure for the last 10 laps or 15 laps and race restarts and safety car procedures needs to be absolutely binned and rewritten. Because I've said it on Discord and said it to other people around me when I was at the Grand Prix. What happened today is the worst and most farcical end to a race, or most farcical race, since Indy 2005, and I would argue it is worse. Because at least in Indy 2005's case, it wasn't the FIA's making. Now, people can say, but Ferrari did this and, the FIA forced them to race. No. All that boils down to is Michelin were too aggressive on their tyres and brought an unsafe tyre. It is 100% on Michelin. I don't want to hear any kind of argument that it was the FIA and them favouring Ferrari. Well, they'd already screwed over Ferrari that year anyway by changing the regulations in December and then taking away downforce as well with the tyres, the tyre rule change as well. So don't give me that crap. This is the most farcical race arguably in Formula One history. And a lot of people at the FIA should be in, I don't know what country they're from, but they're equivalent of the Centrelink queue tomorrow morning. And, funnily enough, Michael Mazzi brought up there in live chat. Yeah, Rossi, I'd have to say that, funnily enough, the most competent race director there was doing a support series. And people can complain all they want about the end of Abu Dhabi 2021, but in the end, it did not affect the outcome of that race because either he follows the procedure and all lap cars go through, and Verstappen still has that 1 lap to pass Hamilton and still gets the job done, or he just lets a couple through. It doesn't change the outcome. So people need to get over that. Unfortunately, Michael Mazzi is just a scapegoat in all of that. But farcical scenes today, and I honestly hope that it won't happen. I'm sure they might have some small investigation, but of course the FIA will go and clear themselves and all that stuff, just like they did when they got Bianchi killed. And Charlie Whiting investigated himself. Now imagine that. You're the one that runs all the show, and then you investigate yourself. Yeah. That, of course, you're going to get a favourable outcome and it's not your fault. But anyway, aside from that, well, it really did dampen the mood quite a bit. It was fantastic to see a lot of fans. Obviously, I'm pretty sure it's going to break the record. Obviously, it was sold out and everything. But it is incredibly frustrating as a fan that's watched motorsport since he was 10. And, he's now in his mid-30s. This is... It's unacceptable. Because Indy 05 may or may not have been avoidable. But this easily was. And we've had situations like this in the past. And they've made different decisions. And it's quite clear that the decisions they made in the past were better. And it can't happen again. I don't expect it to. I reckon if this happens again later on the year, we get a red flag with under 10 laps to go and we go racing again, I reckon we're going to see the same thing. We're going to see people we'll get lucky and instead of two drivers and cars ending up in the wall, they'll make slight contact and just miss it. But if things don't change, this is going to keep happening, and it's frustrating because it shouldn't. The drivers shouldn't have to go through that. Alpine shouldn't have to go through it. Alonso shouldn't have to go through it. The number of drivers today did a good job, and then have their results fucking robbed of them at the end. It's just not good enough. Especially if you're meant to be the top motorsport series in the world. That's unacceptable. But anyway, I'll um I'll leave my rant at that for now. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep regurgitating. Well, I already have been keep regurgitating the same stuff over and over again. But yeah, I'm just going to crack open a cold one and try and enjoy the rest of my night. So yeah, I'm Lewis. Have a good one.